Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Blue Abroad Show here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. It is Monday, the 25th of November, 2024, and Paul Sebastiani joins us from London.
Yes.
Wow.
All the way out in Hertfordshire, in Broxton. It's a great place, isn't it? It's about 8 a.m. here, Monday the 25th of November. Ready to rock and roll in a Blue Abroad program, isn't it?
You've been there for like 48 hours and you just picked it up.
Oh, it's a different world out here, my friend, and I do understand why Pommy does get a little homesick every now and again. So it's cold, it's gloomy, it's misty, it's wet, and it's windy, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
What can you just give us a bit of an insight? Like, what are you doing there?
Just a whole heap of networking. Going to be doing a bit of stuff with AFTV, a bit of stuff with TalkSport, and just going to the games, mate. Just going to the games and just embracing myself in it all. So it's more for leisure, but just more planting the seed for what we do out back home in Melbourne, in Australia. And I'll tell you what, there's a bit of an interest in it. Initially, when you talk to people about Aussie rules and you talk to people about sport back in Australia, it's met with they don't really know. But then as you get on and discuss it, you kind of get an understanding into how interested they are in it. So they love the physicality and they love the passion. And it's like religion over here, mate. You know, we think we're a crazy, passionate bunch when it comes to following Carlton, but here it's life or death over here. Quite literally.
I want to try and get I was going to get the video up of you on AFTV, but I reckon that's going to get a nice little copyright strike. So maybe I'll do this instead. I think so.
That's okay.
What if I put it on mute? Let me try that.
You can put it on mute.
I know what I'll do. Hang on a second. AFTV.
I didn't realise that you get copyrighted on for that kind of stuff now.
Yeah, as in, you know, they have the option if they want to follow through with it, but I
can always contact the boss.
Let's all right, you know what? Let's do this. Let's play a little bit of your interview. Let's do that.
There we go.
You're up here.
Look at that smile.
Sit like this.
Look at that smile.
Let's have a listen to what happened here.
Go for it.
Expression.
I've seen it far too many times too in the mirror.
Oh my god! So that's like a dream come true.
Yeah.
What happened? Tell us about the day. Like
it was brilliant. So we landed. It was literally land, go to bed, go to the game. So landed on Friday evening at Stansted Airport and made my way into North London. Was staying in an apartment complex there for the first couple of nights and got the second win when the flight landed, and I was ready and roaring to go. Oh my God, I can't wait for this match. Went to bed, got up in the morning, met up with Lee from AFTV, who of course I'm staying with here as well, and we headed off to the AFTV studios. He did the pre-game squad selection show, the starting 11, and it's an interesting one because with AFL, I mean, the comparison is, you know, we're always up in arms about team selection, which comes out, you know, 24, 48, 72 hours before a game day. Whereas with the Premier League, the squads are out an hour and 15 minutes before the match. So there's this massive anticipation ahead of the squads being announced. And I went into the studios and watched the lads do the pre-game show, Lee, Robbie and Jules. And then we all walked off to the ground together, and it started raining, started pissing down, which was just typical of weather at this time of year here in London. But it was great. Everybody was walking to the ground. You know, you've got your hands in your pocket, you've got your head down, and everybody knows exactly where they have to go, and everybody's having those conversations. Oh, you know, Jorginho's starting. All the starting squad's a bit of a surprise. Mikel Arteta he's pulled a few strings. We don't know if this is going to work. We're a little bit shaky, a little bit nervy. And that's where I said to Robbie, and I kept telling him, I said, mate, I haven't flown out here for nearly a bloody day to watch us get beaten at home off the international break with a few players back. And the atmosphere pre-game, there's this. It bubbles away for like the first 30 minutes. So I went down into the media access room, but I got in a little late, so I couldn't get a spot in the section there. But I ended up getting some sausage rolls, which was okay. So that's always good. The free food, free coffee, and free scones are always good. Then I found the vantage point. I worked my way up to. It would be like the vantage point that I had. It would be like level 2A at the MCG. So you've got M, then you've got N, then you've got P, which runs along the southern stand. So it's basically that's how high up we were. It's a perfect spot to watch the game, and everybody's just crammed in. And the atmosphere pre-game was just electric. And they have obviously the North London Forever anthem, which they sing and which we sing before the game. It just I had goosebumps. Like I had the lump in my throat. Like you hear it on the TV, Tez. Like I think we kind of have an understanding of how big it is and how important it is to people. But when you're actually there, it's just a whole different type of perspective. You understand how grandioso it is, and every single tackle, every single yellow card, every single shot, everybody's just waiting with bated breath to see what happens. And when Saka scored that goal, the stadium just erupted. It just erupted. So, I mean, the professionalism over there as well with the way they handle things, just media-wise, managerial-wise, players as well, it's just on a completely different level. So, and that's the reason people come from all parts of the globe to go watch it. So, game finished up. Went outside in front of the Dennis Bergkamp statue. That's where everybody sort of met up. And then we went underground, did all the AFTV fan cams, which lasted we were down there for about 2.5 hours, 2 hours, something like that. And we were actually keeping tabs of the Tottenham versus Manchester City match, which was hilarious. So as the fan cams are going on, everybody was watching. I had my phone up and everybody was sort of gathered round as people were doing their fan cams. And James Maddison scored the second goal to put Tottenham up 2-0, and we're like, oh my God, like we feel disgusting following, hoping Manchester City lose. And it is against Tottenham, but we're all like, geez, they've dropped off the cliff, Man City. So it was just, there's so many things going on, but they're like celebrities when they get approached for the fan TV, and when people, there were probably about 50, 60 people, maybe 70 people around the cameras post game in horrible conditions as well. Just goes to show you how passionate and how much people love it. Just insane. And then off home, and now we're here.
What do you make of what you see there from them, and I guess what we have in an AFL landscape? Like, I mean, we're far behind. We're extremely far behind. But what do you make of it? Like, what?
I think, and I was discussing this on air last night with Damo and SEN. Did a cross with him for the Premier League show that we do on the radio, and the difference is, I'll tell you what the difference is. The difference is ruthlessness with media, players, managers, and fans. There's a different level of standard when it comes to performances, results, player form, media analysis, critique in media, and the critique of media as well. It can be brutal out here, but that's why the standard is so high. That's why so many people watch the Premier League every single week. I mean, even a team like, for with all due respect, Brighton and Hove Albion they're not a household team, but they are an elite sporting organisation, and it's cutthroat out here, mate. There's no, as much as there is time for the mollycoddle and putting arms around people. It's not like it doesn't work like that out here, mate. It doesn't work like that out here, and I kind of get it, but that, like I said, that's why the standard is so high, because there's no, for lack of a better phrase, they don't take shit here. They just don't take it.
Right.
One mistake, you're done. Simple as that.
Wow. Well,
yeah, brutal.
I want to get some more insight as to the fan media stuff. Maybe we'll leave that for a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to get through the Carlton stuff.
Yes.
Because we had the draft, we had the recap. All sorts of things have gone on. We've got numbers, we've got preseason photos, we've got guys who have got biceps bigger than what they did last time we saw them.
Always the
one. Maybe we'll start with the draft. So
yes,
this time last week, we did a bit of a preview. We end up getting Jagger Smith, Harry O'Farrell, the Camporelli twins, and Harry Charleston.
Yes.
What did you make high level of the draft? And those of you watching at home, what did you make of the whole draft experience?
Yeah, well, the Jagger Smith, as it got closer to draft night, I don't think anybody in our circles had him pinned as the bloke that we were definitely going to get. It was looking like it was probably going to be Draper or Finn O'Sullivan. But I think one thing that we've probably learnt to appreciate over the last 2 seasons is that our list manager, Nick Austin, is very, very coy and gives away absolutely nothing, but he gives away enough to just keep us appeased and keep us, maybe appeased is the wrong word, but just leave us with the trust that he knows what he's doing without the ego. So,
Mate,
yeah, that's what I looked at.
We went off on this like Draper O'Sullivan tangent.
Yeah.
And he loved it. It was like, yeah, great. Go on. Like, talk about it. Like, perfect.
Yeah.
And he just did his business. At the end of the day, they rated Jagger as the best player in the draft, and that's what they were going to do. That's what they went for.
Yeah. It's so the one thing I gathered out of the draft was actually not the draft itself, not the actual players. It was how we approached it and how we built up into the draft and how we ended up nabbing the bloke that we wanted to nab, and whether there was a bit of trickery about it and the art of negotiation, which is as a list manager, it's a competitive industry. You don't want to give away all your, you've got to keep your cards close to your chest, and you've got to bluff. It's poker, I think. So looking at the one thing I noticed, and I was very focused in on the rhetoric that Mick Agresta and Nick Austin used for Jagger Smith.
Mm-hmm.
The word that popped up for me was consistency, right? And that's something Michael Voss has continued to mention throughout his time at Carlton. We need to be a consistent home and away team. We need to be a consistent home and away team. We need to be consistent with our form. We need to be consistent with the bodies that we have on the park. And he clearly fits the mold. That's not only the only reason we've picked him up, but the other reason I think we've picked him up, and the other word that came up as well, was character. Said he's a great, great character. He's a great, great leader. And there are a few others in the draft. Look, I don't want to throw him under a bus, but I think Finn might have been a little bit immature when it came to that side of things. Whereas I think Jagger Smith, from what I've heard, is a bit more headstrong and a bit more steady when it comes to the leadership side of things and being mature. So as much as you need the talent, which is, I believe from what we've seen, he looks to have it in spades, you've also got to have this. You've also got to have this, especially coming into Carlton with the pressure that's going to be applied on him immediately. He needs to have a strong head, which I think, from all reports and what we've seen and heard from list management and the club, is what he has in spades, which is something. So that's what I took out of it, more from a list management point of view and how they approached it rather than the actual specific players we drafted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we also drafted a young man by the name of Harry O'Farrell.
Yes.
And son of the lawyer. So yes. I want to play a little clip of Harry, and then we can talk about him a little bit. Let's have a listen.
Very grateful for the opportunity, obviously, and to be with a group of boys that are so great, Jagger, the Campos, and Harry as well. It's going to be an awesome year and can't wait. Definitely, everyone was up and about last night, so yeah. I had a little bit of interest, didn't know for certainty until my name got called out, so yeah, it was pretty exciting at the time. Just coming into the club, what I could bring, and yeah, my strengths. I feel like I'm pretty athletic and I'm able to jump and mark strongly, and also I feel like I can read the play nicely and intercept well. I'd probably say the likes of Sam Taylor at GWS, and obviously Weed now. He's probably got a bit more size than me, but yeah, hope I can get that big. But yeah, those two probably. That'd be awesome. Just to learn off them, pick their brains, and yeah, learn off them would be great. You just got to get your rehab done as quickly as possible and sort of keep your mind off it. School also help you sort of do your academics, and I guess it takes your mind off it. And you just got to not worry about the injuries and focus on the things you can control. I'd definitely say Cripper. I reckon I've had his number on my back since he was drafted. And then probably Eddie Betts as well. Loved watching him play. The three amigos, him, Yaron, Garlett, they were awesome. And then Juddy too, he was awesome. That would be pretty cool. He called me this morning actually and wished me luck, so be a good moment.
So he gets it, you know. He bleeds blue.
Us, isn't he? He's one of us. Any obscure mention to the three amigos, I think, has him won over by many.
Yeah, exactly. That was an interesting little section there, because I think going into night number 2, there was the big question mark: were we going to get a bid on Ben before pick 40? It ended up working out perfectly. We ended up taking Harry and then getting the twins. And do you get caught up too much in the nostalgia of like the father-son? Like, does it get you much?
I've tried to train myself out of it, right? And then when I saw the videos a couple of days ago, I go, oh, geez, that's so good, isn't it?
I'm the same. I want to play it.
I'm such a suck. I'm such a suck.
I want to play the one.
It just had to be. It's as much as, I mean, what does it mean? It just, I don't know, you can't, you know what, the more you try to push that sentiment and emotion and attachment away, the more it rears up, I think. So, you know, I was a sucker for it. I must admit, I did have a big fat grin on my face when I saw them get announced as Carlton players.
Yeah. This is the one that got me. I want to play it. All right. This is the video that got me. Just got me going.
Just like opening up. Oh, you're joking. That is awesome. 22, wow. Who was that? Oh, that's too good. No, it's a privilege. Thank you, guys. Dad said that. That'd be Craig, that's awesome.
Yeah, Braddle's mate.
Yeah, keep running. Keep running, brother.
Yeah.
Happy with that. That's it. It's my birthday as well, so it's awesome. Oh, far out.
That's a crazy moment here.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Next to Campo as well. That made me feel real. That's awesome. Yes, it's good to have my unlock it here.
Did you have to share?
I shared number 50 down the corner. Got someone on humor. Oh, it's Dad. Oh, thanks for yours now. Right. Yeah.
That's awesome, mate. You okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Don't worry about anything else.
7. Yeah. Can't believe it. Favorite number? Favorite number. Wow. Just thought it'd be too good to be true. Everything come to Carlton. My best mate, number 7. It just happens. Oh, how good. 21. Birthday.
Hey, how are you? Showing your number of you.
That's so good. Braddles would be pumped.
Be tough to catch the games these players. 28. Yeah, good.
28. So good.
That's amazing. Unreal.
Awesome. No.
You got weird. Oh, yeah.
Proof?
Yeah, proof. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's you can just see they almost seem to overwhelm the young tackers. There's always, look, as much as the club has been in the doldrums for a long time, there's still that sense of aura when you open up the Guernsey for the first time. You could see it as soon as they unfolded the Guernseys and saw the emblem and saw their numbers, their faces, you could actually see their faces light up. There was a complete change in their emotion. It as much as they say it is a privilege, they deserve to be there. They've been picked. There's a reason they've been picked.
Hearing Scott talk to Ben about now, like, you'll make it your own. I think in that moment somewhere there, that's where the nostalgia kicked in for me. It was like, and then you start thinking, I remember when Sam Walsh was drafted and, you know, Cripps and Doherty were on stage, and, you know, Cripps at that point was in maybe his 5th or 6th year.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. And now you're looking at it like Cripps is in his 10th, 11th. Walsh is now at that stage where Cripps was when Walsh was drafted. So, you know, he's just finished his 6th season, and it's just like, oh my God, like the rotating wheel of the club just keeps going. I don't know. This year it really hit me. I think because of the twins, and because it reminded me that wow, there's a whole cycle of generations that's now coming through.
It's true. Time stops for nobody.
Mm.
And in the blink of an eye, these young kids are going to be, hopefully, in 4 or 5 months' time, they're going to be playing, some of them as well. And then time will go by, and then we'll be seeing them as senior figures at the football club too. There's one thing which is interesting as well, seeing these young kids come up, and we haven't really had, I don't think in the last couple of years, we haven't really had those late picks or those rookie picks really, really blossom until maybe the last, I'd say probably 2 to 3 seasons. And that's probably just conducive of the club improving in every facet, which it clearly has. But I do feel that these young kids coming in are actually learning off, and they're learning off guns, really, when you think about it. The young midfielders who are coming in, Jagger Smith and whatnot, he's learning off Patrick Cripps. He's not learning off it. With all due respect to Murph, I mean, the poor bloke was banged up in the back end of his career. Cripps has at least played finals. He's won Brownlows. He's one of the best players in the competition. Jacob Wiedering, arguably the best key back in the competition. Young Harry O'Farrell will be learning off him and learning the standards of him. So I do think as we go forward with these young draftees, I think we are, well, hopefully, we're going to start to see those later picks be integral parts of our team, something we haven't seen, and we'll be hopefully looking back at it in 5-6 years' time and saying, oh, geez, remember that pick we got with 50 and he actually turned into a really good player, and that rookie listed player we picked up has now become a senior player and played over 100 games with the club and played in premierships. It's something we haven't had. So I do get the feeling that we will start to see later picks begin to blossom, just because we've got these elder statesmen at the club who have set a higher standard than we've seen in the last 20, 25 years.
Mm. What's your feeling about the culture of the club now for a draftee to come in compared to what it was when, say, Sam Walsh was drafted? Like, how confident are you that we've built the right environment?
Better than what it was. There's no doubt about it. You can't deny that. It's clearly better than what it was, but there are facets of the club that need to improve, whether it's engagement with fans, whether it's the development of young players as well, and making sure that they've got their own bodies right too. But it also comes down to the individual as well, and how far they want to push and how intrinsically motivated they are within themselves. So I do think and to mention that word again, characters, they are drafting in people who have those strong minds and strong characters. So I think the evidence suggests we're in a far better spot culturally, because results have been far better than they have been in previous tenures. But we're not there yet, mate. So there is still something that is not clicking with the culture, but there's levels to go, mate. There's levels to go. We haven't won a flag. We haven't had a sustained period for a long while with regards to success and winning success and consistency in a home and away season. So there's still things missing. There has to be, because we've only, how long have we really done it for? Like, what, 2 seasons? And last season was a bit of a disaster towards the end. So still a lot of areas to improve, but that's fine. I'm not saying that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. But it was not, it was nice actually seeing in those videos. It all seemed very, nothing was manufactured. Everything was organic, which I love, which is different. It's something that we haven't seen. Oh, here we go.
Yeah. I'm just rolling through the preseason gallery from this morning. Tell you what, Cooper Lord's getting a big mention on the socials lately. They're really
big lad.
Loving Cooper Lord. Yeah.
He's got the physique, doesn't he?
Did you pick up on Jagger Smith being part of Cooper Lord's family and friends party when he was drafted?
When I saw there was a team shot of them celebrating something, right? And he was in it. Jagger Smith was in it. And then I was looking at the guy behind him and I go, who is that? Why do I know that face? I'm sure I know that face from somewhere. Then I searched it. I'm like, oh, it's Cooper Lord. I don't know what that means, because they're close mates. Are they going to be further motivated to play better football? I don't know. But I mean, Paddy Dow and Lockie O'Brien were from Bendigo together, and aren't they good mates? And I mean, where are they now? So,
well, this is the thing, right? I was talking about it earlier today with pick 3. I mean, listen, this is the reality. 2015, good draft, did well,
yes.
very well actually. 16, Samo pick 6. I think he was not in the league 8 years later, right? 2017, Dow not at the club 6 years after getting drafted. O'Brien not even in the league 6-7 years after getting drafted. Walsh, okay, great, nailed it. Stocker, it didn't work out, not at the club anymore. We can't really we have to get, it has to be right. We can't afford to keep missing on these opportunities.
Correct, of course. Yeah, I mean, these are prized picks.
Yeah,
these are assets that you're spending. It's effectively cash that you're spending and investing into players that you need to get right. I mean, you look at the draft point system. There's a reason those picks are worth such high draft points, because they're highly valued. And if you're not getting a return on investment for your big investment, well, you're going to be cut short, and and then you're relying on blokes who were drafted on spec of potential because they're going pick 40, 50, 60, 70 and rookie draft as well. So those are picks that we've missed the last couple of seasons, clearly. And when you look at blokes who went after those gentlemen you just mentioned, it just leaves, it leaves 4 list spots. Imagine having those picks now and picking them again.
Ugh. We almost had to go back into those drafts. I mean, we went back to 2017 to trade for Chera. We went back to 2020, I think, for Elijah. Who did we go back for 2016?
2016. That was after the Wiedering Super Draft, wasn't it?
That was the year after. Who did we get? That was the Fisher draft. Do we have anyone from 2016 on the list now?
I don't think so.
I
don't think so.
Yeah.
Well, it's different minds now, different minds, different list managers, different coach, different game plans, different styles. So you have to, it's look, list management, and as much as the draft is, it's the staple with which you have to build your team. I mean, you're also at the mercy of how good's the coach, how good's management, how good is the system with which that's set up for these players to actually thrive. It's not as simple as just saying, "Oh, go to the draft, pick a player. He's just going to be a champion for your club." There's so many other things that go into it as well. So it's a tricky business, mate. It's a very, very tricky business.
Absolutely, it is. I'm glad I'm not in the list management team. I'm glad
they're paid to get it right. And you know what? This is what I think, and this is what I've sort of learned over the last couple of years, is that list management can actually get the pick right, but the style of coach or there could be other factors that hurt him from not playing or reaching the potential that player showed with the pick. So I do think there is a truth to the pick was actually right, but it didn't work out for the team because of other factors, injuries, coaches, and whatnot. So, like I said, there's a lot of factors that can't go into it. You can't just pin it on list management. Football clubs are a whole environment.
So as we start and we embark on 2025 and preseason begins today, I think I was watching a video. I think Harry Lemmy was saying that there's about 25 guys that are back. It's the 1st to 4th years that are back. I think the rest will come over the next week or so. What micro questions do you have about this team going into next year? Like, obviously the macro, will we be healthy? Will we be fit? Will they make top 4? Put them to the side for a minute. What do you look at going into this preseason that you're going to have your eye on, whether it be a positional change or a certain player or a position? What's in your head, and those of you at home as well? What's on your mind going into this preseason?
The specific area of the park for me is small forward, half forward, because we will have that particular role and those particular roles in the team. We will have blokes that will be fresh off their injuries, who missed out last season for reasons that are just was it a bit of were they unlucky? Were they unfortunate? Did they not know how to control their bodies? Did they push themselves too far? So we'll have a better idea as to how that all unfolds. But for me, it's how the small forwards and half forwards operate in order to, one, create more scoring opportunities for us. But defensively, how can we be better in our front half? That's what I'm looking at. How can we be better defensively in our front half? The pressure small forward role is something that we are yet to really, really nail down at the moment. And that half forward role with Jack Martin leaving, with Elijah Hollands potentially coming in, with Jack Silvani coming back into the team, with Ashton Moyer developing at a nice rate. How are we going to approach and how are we going to get that mix? Because we know what the mix is from a key forward perspective. It's Charlie and Harry. You can pencil those two blokes in. You can pen them in, sharpie them in. The four around them when the game is going on and the others that they're going to rotate with, no one's locked in. That's the area for me. Small forward, half forward, who's going to take the role? Who are going to be the names that we see on the park in preseason? It may be someone completely different. Maybe someone gets plucked from obscurity and gets put in those roles. Don't know how it's going to work out, but that's the area for me.
Yeah. I'm really intrigued with how the ruck conversation develops over the next 12 months, because I think 2024 started with the two, turned into Tom and being ready to explode, and Harry was pinch hitting, and that kind of leads me to Jack Silvani. So it's like, what are we going to do? I've seen people saying that he's playing in defense, and the inside word is he's going to be a defender or whatever, depending on which forum you're reading online. So as far as I can guess, the last time we had Jack, he was playing as a forward/ruck. Mm-hmm. So I guess my question is going to be, is he okay? Is he going to be back on the park? Like, has he recovered? Is he? And then once he has ticked that off, like, where does he fit in the team?
I think it is that half forward ruck role, because he's not. And I do love Pito. I do like him as a player in our squad, but I think Jack is far more versatile. And what Jack does in the ruck, I think, is ample enough coverage for TDK resting. So Jack can go in the ruck, and the percentage, I mean, the incremental decrease you might get in ruck craft from Pito compared to Sauce, I don't think the drop off is, and he's a bit more mobile in midfield, so he can almost become another midfielder if he does get thrown in there. And I love him in that high half forward role. I love him as a hit up. I think he's one of those players that I think will be on the fringe, because that role is a very difficult role to rock down. But personally, I think we're a better team when he's playing. That's my take on it. That's my take. I think he's the man. It's got to be TDK and Jack, because Jack he's not a pure ruckman, if that makes sense. He's a bloke who can pinch hit in there, but he can also play various roles, whereas Pito is a ruckman. That's it. Can't play anywhere else. Simple.
True. Carlton Blues 22, and a few of you have mentioned Ollie Hollands, and he was talking today in the video that they put up around his exit meeting, and they obviously trialled him a little bit behind the ball towards the latter stages of 2024, which he enjoyed, they enjoyed. We kind of had to do it because we were a bit banged up. I guess that's the next question for me. Is like, okay, is that something you want to move forward with? Is he going to continue to stay behind the ball? Is he going to just maybe move into what the Blake Acres role was this year? Maybe Blake will be a little bit interrupted because he's had surgery. I think he's one of three to have had surgery. So
the micro discectomy, is that what he had? The surgery on the bulging disc?
Yep. Nasty.
Well, yeah, it is. It never, back surgery. When you hear back surgery, you squirm. So hopefully he's okay. But what we have become in the last few seasons is we do have a lot of players who can play multiple roles, right? And they are versatile with regards to their skill set and positions that they can play. And I do believe you need to be fluid to a point. So when I talk about fluidity and in game plan and game style, I talk about Ollie Hollands. Can you play an attacking role on the wing? Yes. Okay. We can also push you through half forward if we need to. Ollie Hollands, can you play a defensive role on the wing, which is a strength of yours because of your running power and your bravery and your courage to go back with the flight and actually compete aerially. So yes, you can play that halfback role as well. So I talk about fluidity, like the players will do that and they will interchange and intertwine throughout the game. And it can also confuse opposition as well. So you do need to have that fluidity to you as much as you need to have that structural compactness and rigidness in defense, I think. But the one thing I want to look at as well is as much as we like specific roles for a player. So I think with Ollie, you look at him and say, oh, yeah, just keep him on the wing, leave him on the wing, just leave him as a specialist winger. That's what we need. We need specialist roles, right? There is a spot for that. But I do believe that, and I think this comes from the top, from the coach. If you look at the best managers in the world, right, and I do think this, I don't think is it a trend? Maybe. But I think the best teams have managers that are what I call generalizers. So they aren't specifically amazing at one thing. They are prepared for all scenarios. So that's where I talk about the fluidity of the team and having a player like Ollie Hollands be able to go back to halfback if he needs to do that. Be able to pop up a little bit higher up on the wing when he needs to do that as well. So I believe that being more of a generalizer and having more roles covered and being good at everything and prepared for every scenario, I think is the way modern AFL and modern sports are going these days. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Well, I hope we get to go to training soon.
Yeah, what's going on there?
I don't know.
Keeping
I don't know.
secrets,
Yeah, I don't know. I get jealous when I see like Collingwood and North and Melbourne and like imagine just like being out in the open and like anyone can go at any time, any day, and just watch.
I mean, what do they say? Is the security or that it costs them? But just open it.
I reckon is once a week unreasonable with like just open up one bay?
No.
Just one section. Yeah, you might have to get security. Like, fair enough. You've got to pay for it. Would you pay $5 entry if you could go watch them train?
I think people would.
Like, how many are you really going to get in a normal school week? Like during, like when it's not school holidays?
I remember when we first started doing this, the
Yeah.
channel and all our shows and podcasts and everything. And there was that patch where we weren't playing so well, but I think that there were a whole heap of open training sessions. There was a training session every week.
Well, the thing was you could walk in from the entry. The way that the old club used to be built, you're saying?
Yeah, well, even like when Teague was coaching and maybe at the start of Vossi's tenure, there were those summer open training sessions that we get to. I remember when we had that, where was it? When they remember that time, was it Vossi's first season, his first preseason, or was it his second preseason? We were there and it was a sunny day and they had the Mitch McGovern had his Christmas hat on.
I think that was the second one.
Was it the second one? Yeah, there was no one there. There were 30 people there. Oh, man, that was great. How good was that?
Yeah.
That was great. But why can't they do that? Why can't they do that? I don't know. It's just I don't know. I think they've just missed the trick there. They've missed the trick. I don't know. I don't know how would the cost outweigh the benefit of that. That's because that's why you're not doing it. That's the only reason you make a decision, because the cost outweighs the benefit.
Is it more likely that something that they don't want to happen will happen by having an open training every week?
Like what?
I guess I don't know. The secrets.
Oh.
The secrets get revealed.
What secrets? I haven't won anything. Collingwood train out in the middle of a main road where everyone can go out and see. If they want to keep secrets, train indoors.
I just think it's such a low-hanging fruit. Maybe even once a month. No, it's once a week. It's once a week.
Once a week.
It's once a week. Build the hype. But look, at the same time, when you treat them mean, you keep them keen. Like we can't go, we want to go, but
No,
any
no.
piece of news that we get, we jump at it. Cooper Law looks great in a photo. Like, look at us.
I know. Yeah, well, I mean, if they close training every single week, and if they said to you, look, you can't attend a training session for the whole year, but we're probably going to win a flag,
Keep me away.
You take that deal.
Yeah, that's true.
You take that
That's
deal.
true.
But I think they need to open it up, to be honest.
No, I think they do it every year. As in December, there's usually 2, maybe 3 sessions.
Yeah.
There's always that last one, the big session. It's like 2.5 hours, and they just smash the guys. It's usually hot. It's like that Christmas session. And then from memory, I reckon they had 2 open training sessions. One early December, I think, from memory. Could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to compare it to here, the Premier League, I mean, you can't. The access it's almost forbidden.
Yeah, talk to me about that. What happens there?
Strictly media. That's it.
Yeah.
No one else can attend unless you are invited as a, when clubs do those jersey handouts with young fans and fans who may be underprivileged, those things. But to knock on the door, if you were to go to London Colney where Arsenal train, or up to Manchester and knock on the door and say, "Can I see Manchester United train?" They'll say, "Yeah, exit doors that way, buddy."
Right.
It's different over here. Different over here when it comes to that.
Let's talk a bit more.
Between the sports. There's a difference between the sports and cultures here.
True. Well, you've been amongst the fan. Well, really, you're amongst the pinnacle of fan media.
Yeah.
In the world. AFTV and I think the fan channels in the Premier League in particular, I would say, are leading the world. I think they are the world leading. Yeah.
The biggest.
So from where they are right now to where AFL fan channels are, what are the takeaways? What have you learned? Where can the footy fan media improve based off what you're seeing right now?
It's a good question. It's a very good question.
Are they accepted by the Premier League? You know what I mean?
Yes and no. Right? Yes and no. They are now starting to become accepted by mainstream, I say traditional media, in the sense where you see Sky Sports, The Overlap, and TalkSport start to embrace the fan channels. You've seen the fan Q&A with Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, and the big fan channels like United Stand, Adam McCullough, Mark Goldbridge has become enormous, absolutely enormous. And they're being plucked out by Sky Sports. They're being plucked out by TalkSport to lead the charge. And ultimately, as much as they might not be professionally trained with media degrees or anything, they know how to report. They know how to create content. They know how to get people talking. They know how to engage. And ultimately, irrespective if you have a paper, if you have a bit of paper that says you're a journalist, or if you have a computer and a camera in front of you, ultimately, what garners attention is what these companies and what these organisations are going to be attracted to. And ultimately, that brings in revenue and keeps the cycle going. So, there's been an interesting amalgamation between fan media here and traditional media, because they need to latch onto something to keep them going. Fan media now is, I would say, almost at the forefront over here. Sky Sports is huge because it's Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher, but the fan TV here, I mean, you go to the state, they're like celebrities, mate. They're celebrities. They can't go anywhere without being asked for a photo or asked to have a chat. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And like anybody, I mean, you see that there's sometimes, people be, they're toxic fans and they say things out of turn. But people listen, irrespective of how upset they might make people. People tune in. Mate. The numbers don't lie, mate. The numbers don't lie. So from our perspective back home in Australia, I do think that it's because football, when I say football, I mean soccer, is just globally far more bigger than what Aussie rules football is. So that market, of course, for fan TV from a soccer perspective is going to be far greater and far grander, right? But I think back home we are far more tight knit because it's quite local, and it is here. Like football clubs in England are tight knit as well, but I don't think it's as big because of the fact that just economically and financially and numbers wise here we're not as big. So that's probably the cause and effect with regards to it, with regards to the numbers and comparing AFL to the Premier League. But I think for us here, the care factor. You know what? I think us with fan cams and fan content in Australia, I think we just need to care less about what people think, to be honest, and just say what you need to say. That's what I say. Just say what you need to say. You're appeasing people that you don't know and you don't converse with. Like opposition fans, having a go at you for X, Y, Z. It's like you don't know anything about the club. What do you know about the club?
True.
So that's what I think. People get in front of a camera here and they say what they say, and some people care as to the opinions that others have of them, and some people don't. But ultimately,
is it also a factor because Arsenal, for example, they just played in Portugal Champions League, and then before you know it, they're back in the Premier League. Is it just the cycle just keeps going that there's no time? Like we have about a week to stew on our opinions every week, kind of thing here.
Yeah. Oh, midweek. If your team's playing in Europe and you've got other competitions you're playing, it's a game nearly every 3 days. So you're trying to analyze one game, and then once you've analysed that game, you're on to the next, which is that it's actually not the worst thing. Because like you said, you don't have to mull over a loss. You don't have to, we lose on a Friday night and then we play Sunday the next week. And if you've lost a close one, like we did against Collingwood a few times this season, mate, you're racking your head for 4 or 5 days. Tossing and turning in your head. Oh, what if he kicked it here? And what if he handballed there? And what if he had to kick the goal at this point in time? Whereas with the game against Forest on the weekend, mate, tomorrow Arsenal play again. They've got to. They're off to Portugal. They're flying out. They've got to get prepared for a Champions League game. So there's no rest. Just bang, media cycle just continues. You're not. It's almost as though you're not. As a content creator, you don't have to create the media. It just fulfills itself because there's always something happening. Whereas now for us, look, how long is this preseason going to go for?
True. 3 months, 4 months.
It's the longest preseason in world sport, right? Whereas with football, the Premier League, season's done. In a month and a half, mate, they're back. They're back, mate. August, they're in it. They are in it. They don't get time off, mate. They get 3-4 weeks off. Sometimes players don't even get a rest because there's an international tournament that comes up as soon as their season is done. So there's always something to talk about because there are always games on. Whereas with footy, it's completely different. You've got your 24 rounds finals, and then it's 5-6 months until the next season. So you are trying to come up with something to talk about, and the news isn't always fulfilling. And the only thing, unfortunately, that people talk about in this period of time that fulfills the cycle is one, draft, which is fantastic, right? But that's only for a week. Then you've got trade period, and then it's injuries, really, when you think about it, from now to the start of the season. That's all it is, which is shit. It's rubbish.
News and one thing I noticed this year. How long have you been at SEN for?
Since August 2022. What's that? Nearly 3 years. Creeping up to 3 years.
So that's like three trade periods, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
From an SEN perspective, did you notice a specific uptick in appetite for trade period this year than any other those 3 years that you've been there?
Huge. Yeah, I think it was. I don't know exactly the numbers, but it was definitely like that. That's from a digital perspective, at work and a radio perspective. It's enormous. It is absolutely huge. The numbers that they generate from a download perspective, from a click perspective, from a read perspective are enormous. It's funny, people say, "Oh, the season's done now. You can put the feet up." It's probably busier when the season finishes, to be honest, because there's so many stories that go on with regards to teams who didn't quite reach the heights that they needed to, so they go off and trade, and the fans have that appetite for, who are we bringing in? What are we going to bring in? We need to improve next year. So the cycle doesn't stop when it comes to trade period. It's probably busier than ever, I'd say.
I've never seen it like this. Usually I understand most people just sort of tune out after the last game of the year, and you kind of see them again when round one comes. I think it might have had something to do for Carlton with the fact that we got pick 3. And things, I mean, Houston was a story. And then once pick 3 came into the picture, this appetite for the off-season content, I've like in 7 years of this, I've never seen it like this before.
No, it's crazy. It's insane. And is it a case now because the draft is put up in lights and the trade period is put up in lights because the media is forcing it in our faces, or is it because we actually truly want it? I actually think it's because people truly want it, because people continue to click on it. And if they didn't, they wouldn't. Simple. Plus, too, it's also how you garner a headline as well. That helps.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
Libba, it honestly feels to me that the Aussie culture don't suit fan content. And plus, little things like liking and commenting seems like a tough ask. Yeah.
Aussie culture doesn't suit fan content.
Well, I think fan content comes and disrupts, and then it becomes adopted. But until then, there's the pushback. And here in Australia, I was telling you before we went live, 2018, when I saw AFTV like in the flesh, and I was like, I got to get home because someone's going to do this. Like, someone's going to do this, and like, let's go. Carlton have to be at the forefront of this before all the other clubs catch on. And then like, we're like, 6 years later, I'm like, where the fuck is everyone?
Yeah. It's I do feel that in Australia, just with regards to media, even technology and sporting standards, we do lag behind, and it takes time for us to catch up. But Aussie culture and fan content don't align. It's not the worst call. It's not the worst call, because I mean, we were discussing this before we went on, that there is a bit of tall poppy syndrome in Australia. If someone puts forth an opinion, I mean, how many times do you see people get personal with regards to
regards to a football opinion?
Well, yeah, I mean, which is just ridiculous when you think about it, right? They're ridiculous, right? And I think that is something that, and the other thing I think people need to understand and learn is that when you get in front of a camera, you're talking to, we're all flawed, mate. We're going to say things that are going to upset people. We're going to say things that are going to make people happy. We're going to say things that make people angry. We're going to say things that get people upset. That's just the nature of the beast, mate. That's how life works, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think people need to get this thing out of their head that, if you have an opinion or someone gets upset by something that you say with regards to football and whatnot, or if, you preach your morality and all that, I don't like going down that path, and I see that too much here. Whereas over here, it's, I don't know, maybe it's creeping in as well, or maybe it's crept in Australia because it's been here as well. But just get over it. To be honest,
Do you think
some people can't. Some people can't.
Yeah. Do you think it's because potentially, I mean, football is the world game, and we'll just keep using Arsenal as an example. How many fans of Arsenal in the world?
Tens of millions more.
Yeah. And then within that, you've got different countries, continents, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Whereas I guess for us, you're pretty much only, you have people who are living outside of Australia that do watch it. I mean, we do have Americans, for example, that have found the game, but they're a very small section. You pretty much have some sort of a link to being Australian. And then within that, probably in the key states that watch the game, we were talking about Carlton. So maybe that's just got something to do with it. We're just not used to having we have a diverse type of people that talk about the game, but not from different countries and different cultures. We're all kind of Australian in some way.
Yeah, correct. And there is I think that it's not so much I mean, when you talk, professionalism will always come to the fore, right? No doubt about it. right? If you're brash and you just say things for the sake of wanting to get a reaction out of people and wanting to get people upset, I mean that's not going to last, right? But I think if you're true to what you say and you do your research and you look up what you look up and you do your due diligence with regards to the content that you create with regards to sport and a club that you follow, ultimately people are going to, it's very easy to find people out and find out what people are actually about when you watch them for a long time. But there's a reason this thing has been sustainable for years now, is because we're all trying to figure out what's going on, and we're all open and honest about it too, and we're all just trying to seek the truth and what's going on at the club, what's going on with the form, what's going on with the players. I don't think there's this perverse idea of wanting to know because you just want to extend your own social status or anything like that. But I think from the perspective of fans and numbers and trying to figure it all out, I think naturally when you're just true to yourself and you do your due diligence, people are going to follow, and people like that. Like I said, irrespective of how the opinion falls, people will be upset, people will be angry, people will be happy, people will be sad. It's all part of it, mate. You have to take all of it in. It's never always going to be roses. You have to strike the balance as well. And some people also like the brash side of it as well.
It's a good point. Yeah. It's a good point. Well, so what does the next couple of weeks look like for you? Like, how plugged in are you to Arsenal in the next couple of weeks?
Very plugged in. I'll be doing fan cams outside of the grounds we'll be doing, obviously I'm not heading to Portugal, but for the West Ham game this weekend, I'll be in attendance. So we'll be doing fan cams outside the ground for that.
You'll be on the fan cams? We'll
yes.
look out for you.
Yes.
Can I also just stop you there? I didn't actually ask you, why weren't you wearing the Carlton beanie in your latest fan cams appearance?
Oh, what, on AFTV?
Yeah, come on, mate.
I can't do the Arsenal and Carlton. That's just...
Oh.
Tommy will have me for that, mate. He'll have me for that. I'll look when I'm on Saturday. I don't know. What's the game? Saturday, Sunday. I'll have a little Carlton insignia. I'll have something. On there. Just keep an eye out for it.
Just something. Give us something.
Just keep an eye out for it. I'll definitely have something on there. So, we'll be doing fan cams. Hopefully, I'll weasel my way into a few podcasts that the lads do as well. So that'll be good fun. And then, just continuing to network out here, meet people out here, watch the games, gallivant around London, and just embrace myself in the football culture, pre-game, during game, and post-game as well. That's a big thing. See, I think back in Australia, back home, there's a football culture, and when I say football culture, I mean the Premier League culture and soccer culture. Pre-game and post-game is huge. Pre-game is massive, right? Whereas with us, I don't feel that there's a big pre-game. It's not really like football, like AFL culture is, and I know people do go to the pub before the game, but it's not to the pub, march to the ground, watch the game. It's you go get a coffee, you fart around for a bit, you get to the ground, you sit in your seat, and away you go. And you might go for dinner after it. You might go for a few drinks. Whereas here it's set. It's beers before the game, in at the game, watch the game, beers at halftime, post-game, bang. They're very set. Very, very set.
Yeah. I was really interested in how you spoke about the team selection there. It's a really curious case study, because we get hang on. What about injury reports? Do they get injury reports?
No injury. You know what the injury report is?
No.
I'll be the journalist and Mikel Arteta or Premier League managers there. Injury update for the squad this week. Calafiori trained. Bukayo Saka missed out. Declan Rice is still recovering. He might be available. Ben White's out for a few weeks. And that's it. Any other updates? Nope, that's it.
There's no 2 to 3 weeks, 3 to 4.
Nothing. Nothing. There's no Tuesday, 7 p.m. injury updates in. None of that. Nope. No.
That's fascinating.
It's a 30-second bite in a press conference, But if it's a crisis where it's the main news story for a team, it'll probably be extended out. But there's no 2 to 3 weeks, 1 to 2 week hamstring strain, calf strain, quad strain, knee surgery, MCL, PCL. It's not.
There's none of this like, oh, you said 1 to 2 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks ago.
No. There are players like Tomiyasu for Arsenal who are just perpetually injured become frustrating for fans, but just get up and get on with it, mate. It is what it is. You've got a squad. Move on. That's it. I mean, each team has a threshold. Clearly, it doesn't matter how good you are. I mean, Manchester City have got injuries, but it's no excuse. The injury report is not as revered upon here than it is back with AFL.com.au. There's no specific update that is required by any club. It's more just, if we need to update, we'll update.
Okay. Yeah. That's an interesting insight. Well, what time is it there? You're like 9 a.m.?
It is, yeah. Right on 9 a.m. On the dot. Right on the dot.
1 a.m. in London. Your whole day's about to start. Our day's ending here. It's 8 p.m. here. Thanks for joining all the way from where you are. That was a good show. It was really
My pleasure, mate. My absolute pleasure. We'll maybe tee up a video a bit later for my trip next week as well. We can catch up and do something, I reckon.
I'd love to. Yeah. Take all the learnings, do what you got to do,
Absolutely.
Build all the connections, and bring home all the insights, mate.
Bloody oath. Absolutely. Yeah, we'll continue to expand the Carlton Blue Broad Jumper Punch network out here, the SEN network out here, and we'll bring home something from AFTV and the Premier League and TalkSport. So looking forward to it. It's going to be it's only just beginning, mate. I've only been here for 2-3 nights. So Monday, start of the week, this is when it really begins.
True. Well, ladies and gents, have a good night. Thank you very much to our sponsor, Cannoleria. We will see you next week, 7 p.m. Monday.
Cannolo, it is Sicily. It's definitely a traditional Sicilian dessert, and we want to share exactly this. We want to share a traditional product that can be done with our Australian twist. Cannolo is something that you have to share with your family. Cannoleria try to do exactly that. We try to give a product that you can share with your family, share with your friends. All the important things, it can be happy or can be something sad, it's all around the table. And that's what my grandfather used to say. No matter if you have a little or a lot, food just brings everyone together. You can't go wrong with that. I'm Dario, owner of Cannoleria.